Today, can everybody hear me? I know there's no microphone. Everybody's in the back? Okay. I wanted to talk about this subject of no pain, no gain. And I think there's a couple reasons why this kind of gravitated towards me for this subject. I think, firstly, it resonated with me as a recruiter, you know, when I started, and I think it's my perception that we kind of feel like this has to be painful in order for us to be successful. And the painful part for me was making all these calls. And I work hard, I make a lot of calls, and I think we all do, but making dials with no callbacks felt painful to me. So am I alone, or is that kind of painful? Okay, so I'm on the mark there. There's another reason why I thought about this, excuse me, and this one's kind of embarrassing, but I'm going to share some personal reasons why I chose this subject and how it relates to me as a recruiter. When I look back over my life, there's always been this tendency for me to want to take the easy way to the results I wanted. I didn't compromise what I wanted, but I always took the easy path. I kind of just gravitated towards it. So when I was in high school, my senior year, I set it up so my first 3 classes were like home ec and whatever that you can get an A in. My goal was to get A's. That was the objective. But I didn't really need to go to class to do it. So my senior year, I got all A's. And when I looked at my report card, I had been late to school 80 times. I missed the first 3 classes, and at that time, I had something I'd rather do with my time, which happened to be sleep. So then I kind of carried that into college. And my goal was to get A's. I wanted to get good grades. I didn't get straight A's, but I was on the honor roll. And if there was a class that I could pass without going, I did not go. And my wife, who is my college sweetheart, can attest to this. We kind of maybe went to the bar instead of going to class sometimes. But I got the A's. Got the report card. I got the A in that class. And even now, I still do it. If there's something that needs done, and I feel like there's something I'd rather do with my time, I outsource it. And I definitely get busted up about this. I pay someone to do the landscaping. I pay someone to clean the pool. I pay someone to clean up the dog poop in the backyard. I would rather do something else with my time. And I don't want that guy's job, by the way. So those are kind of reasons why I chose this subject. And, you know, when you think about it, you know, it's not really the dials we're going for. We want to get into live phone conversations. And Jeremy kind of told you about my beginnings in the business. I did get off to a quick start, but I had a $7,500 average fee. I did work hard, I did dial, but I figured it out early. And for me, I wanted to take advantage of having my cake and eating it too. It's what I've always liked to do. So a lot like Jordan Rayboy and all his travels, we've spent the last 6 years traveling. I mean, we've spent months at a time. We spent a month, and this guy just stopped working on it. Well, well, it definitely might have a bad battery, I'm not gonna lie. I guess I could do manual. We've spent 3 months in Napa Valley. We're kind of like young, old people. We like Napa Valley. We've spent 2 or 3 months in Santa Barbara. We got our dogs hanging out with us. We've spent a couple months in Carmel Valley. San Diego, probably 3 months. And last year, we spent 2 months in Colorado, 2 months in San Diego, 2 months in Austin. So I definitely like to have my cake and eat it too. And we've had a lot of other great travels. Ski trips, Mexico, San Francisco, New York City, Las Vegas, there's the Ray Boys. And I've met some really great recruiters along the way. Guys like this, Jeremy Sizemore, Chris Shuttlecotti, Jordan, John Schlegel. And these guys are rock stars, and I've learned a lot from them. And I've also met recruiters along the way who were not as successful. And in my experience, it wasn't for a lack of hard work. I know guys that make 80 dials a day, and they're lucky to bill $100,000. How is it they work so hard, and they have such minimal results? That's kind of a no pain, no gain way of thinking. I want to introduce a word today that I kind of think has a bad rap. Easy. I think this concept confounds most of us, and I think I know why. I see what they did here. Sorry, guys. They made it go in. Okay. I think the reason why this word's so confounding is because of things like this. Pay your dues. Put in your time. Prove yourself. No pain, no gain. Easy is a concept that can be just as useful to you. Choosing easy, it can be smart, it can be efficient, it can be fun, it can be energizing, it can be letting inspiration be your compass. So I kind of think sometimes we do things just because it's the way it's always been done. You know, we're told it's a phone business, right? Dial, dial, dial. I don't disagree. It is a phone business. But it's not the dials that we're going after. It's the live phone conversations. This is what allows us to actually experience success. It's getting on the phones. It's getting connects. So if we agree that it's the live phone conversations we're going after, shouldn't we be focused on how we get on the phone with people? Shouldn't we be focused on what we do when we do get on the phone with people? So I want you to be open to a paradigm shift today that maybe we should change the way we approach this. And I don't presume that maybe all of you are in this hamster wheel trap of making these dials, but be open to a paradigm shift of a change. And change is actually going to lay the groundwork for all of this. There's all kinds of psychology relating to change, and I think it's important because if you think about what we do, we're dead center in the middle of change constantly. I mean, we get paid when change happens. When a candidate changes jobs and we place them, we get paid. So we're real life change agents. I think it makes sense to understand. The one piece of the psychology that I want to key in on today is that big changes happen in a series of small steps. We take baby steps toward the big change. It doesn't just happen. We don't just make placements. We don't just get new clients that produce a couple $100,000 a year for us. We don't just get candidates. Change happens in a series of small steps. And let me take an example. Is anybody in the room married? Keep your hands up. Now, leave your hands up if you met your spouse and got married in the same day. Oh, I was hoping there was at least one. No Vegas stories? We don't do this overnight, right? There's this sequence of small steps that leads to the big change of getting married. And it just so happens that I think these steps parallel the steps it takes for us to develop clients and candidates. It starts with attraction. Then there's an introduction of some sort. You can't really get past that until you introduce each other. Stage 3 is getting to know each other. And then finally the close. And that getting to know you part can take a while, especially in marriage. It could take 6 months, it could take 6 years. But by the time you've gotten to know each other and you're ready to go in for the close and get married, it kind of feels fluid. It kind of feels natural. We don't just jump from this attraction to, will you marry me? But wait a second, don't we kind of do that as recruiters? We kind of jump right into, will you marry me? We kind of jump ahead. Well, I'm going to call these the 4 stages of client and candidate development. And I think it's important to realize that there are steps to this, and they're little small steps that lead to the big change. So the first step is attraction. So how does attraction play into what we do? How does this have any relevance whatsoever? Well, let's talk about the client side first. Who in the world am I attracted to? I can tell you, I'm attracted to companies that make my life easy. The companies that make my life easy are the ones where the candidates want to work. And how do we know who those companies are? Because we call those candidates and we say, hey, I got a job, are you interested? No, I'm happy. Oh, you're happy. That's a good company. That's who I want as a client. Why do I want to align myself with the company where everyone's shooting resumes at me just as fast as they're shooting those resumes? Think about how long it's going to take me to get somebody into that company, and I really don't feel so good about it anyways. So I'm attracted to good companies. Now, in my world, I've identified that there's about 100 good companies. Companies where candidates want to work. And within those 100 companies, what I've also identified is that there are about 10 decision makers in each one of those companies that makes the hiring decisions for the jobs that I place. So we've got 100 companies, we've got 10 decision makers. I've just outlined my world of attraction. This is my bubble. This is where I'm living. I'm attracted to these 1,000 decision makers. And now, stage 2 comes introduction time. I know who I'm attracted to. I've got to go out and make introductions. Now, kind of keeping with the theme that these big changes happen in small steps, do I go out and just cold call them all? I could do that, and that'd be better than doing nothing. But there's more strategic, more effective ways to reach out to them. Because what's the outcome we're looking for? We want to get a live connect. So I'm going to use certain techniques to get those live connects. And I want to walk you through this. These live connects are going to get me to stage 2 of an introduction. And then I'm going to use that to get me to step 3 of getting to know each other. These silos of business development that I use are reference checks, emailing up, job board calls, MPCs, and salary surveys. And what I want to do is I want to start by talking about reference checks. These are my silos of business development, and I'll kind of go back here so you can see what I use. These are the strategies I use to get on the phone. So with reference checks, I can tell you that for me, I used to think it was very monotonous. Like, it's time to make a placement. Okay, I got to call and check references. Yeah, blah, 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 yeah, peace. Okay, cool. Now I can make a placement. But who are we calling? Think about it. We're actually calling decision makers. We're calling candidates. It's a warm call, and by the way, the callback ratio, it's about 100%. So I'm like, wait a second. I can make 8 reference check calls and get on the phone with 8 decision makers, or I can make 80 cold calls and maybe get on the phone with 8 decision makers. I think I'll take the reference check call. And then I'm going to use this to set up a future call. I'm going to show you my reference check process, and I do this on the front end. So anytime a candidate sends me a resume or I recruit a candidate, I'm going to try to get the references right there. I'm not going to wait till the end. 50% will do it. Not everybody's going to give you references. They're scared, they're passive, nobody knows they're looking. But 50% will give you references. And here's my trigger for when to check the reference. Remember my world of attraction? I've got 1,000 decision makers. If their name comes up on that reference, guess what? I'm going in for the introduction. So here's kind of how my reference goes. I'll put it up on the board. It's an initial reference check. It takes me 5 minutes. Hey John, this is Joe Rice at JDI. We're an executive search firm. We do about 20 to 30 searches like this one each year. Hint, hint. And John Doe has listed you as a professional reference. I only need 5 minutes of your time, okay? And then I ask these quick 4 questions. Would you tell me that he's an A player? And sometimes I'll even define that. Would you say he's in the top 10% of his market, of what he does? If so, why or why not? What are his greatest strengths, areas of opportunity? How would you rate him against similarly qualified candidates? Is he in the top 10, 20, 50%? Would you rehire? So I go through and ask these questions, take a quick reference. It literally takes 5 minutes.
Sorry, areas of opportunity, does that kind of mean areas for improvement?
Yes.
Okay.
My business coach doesn't like the word weakness.
Okay, got it.
Areas of opportunity. How can you get better? So then the next part's the part you got to key in on. We're going in for stage 3. We're going in for getting to know each other. But remember, big change happens in a series of small steps. I mean, it does. We proved it with marriage. I'm just going to take another small step here. I'm not going in for the kill. And this is how I close the call, and it sets that up. I say, thank you for your time. This isn't the purpose of the call today, so I'm not going to dive in right now like most recruiters would. Would you be open to a 15-minute call at some point in the next 30 days? We do about 20 to 30 searches like this. I'd like to learn more about your company, share a little bit of information about JDI. Not pressing. Would you put that on your calendar? Basically, here's what I'm saying. There's like 4,400 minutes in a month. That's a lot. Can you just give me a little? Can I just get 15 minutes? And that's just a small step. And 85% of the time, they say yes. And now, I line up a call with the decision maker. And I didn't do it by cold calling. So, let's just kind of take a quick look here at what this is going to do for us. I don't have a good clicker, unfortunately, guys.
I think at the point it's towards the podium.
Towards that?
Yeah, there's a little
Towards your computer.
on the
Towards the computer.
on the podium.
Yeah, towards
Right
your
here.
computer.
fast. Okay, maybe I'll get better at that. So here's a snapshot, and this is just a glimmer of the value gained. There is more, but just for today's purposes, I want to talk about some of the value that this reference actually gives me. First of all, I just gathered information about that candidate. That's going to help me craft an MPC call. MPC calls suck sometimes. I got this great candidate. He's really great. Give me a call back. No, I now know his boss just told me like, oh yeah, we had a $2 million goal. He crushed it. He did like 2.5 million every year. He exceeded it by like 150%. He's in the top 10% of his niche. He's one of the best people I've ever supervised. If there was one person I would ever hire again, it's that guy. That's going to make for a great MPC call, right? When I present that guy, it's going to sound really good. There's another thing happening. If I am going to present him to a client, maybe he's kind of like on the verge. Maybe they will interview him, maybe they won't. When I put that reference alongside of it, I now secure a send out. I'm going to get the interview now as opposed to what I had to say about him, which was I'm trying to sell him, and they know that. Now I'm just providing facts. Here's a reference. Here's what they said. You might want to interview this guy. And then the next thing is, guys, I'm setting up that third stage, getting to know each other. And I'm setting it up for sometime in the next 30 days. I'm not an impromptu voicemail. You know, sometimes I wonder if they even know who those guys are. Well, I'll tell you something. They know who I am. I just had a conversation with them. But if I went through and left 80 voicemails, I mean, I might be like, hey, this is Joe. Delete. He can tell it's a voicemail. He doesn't know who I am. I'm just a John Doe. I've got a warm call that's led to a call that we've put on our calendar, and look at the image that I'm kind of exuding about myself here. I'm setting up a phone call on a calendar, not through a cold call, and then this is important. This decision maker could be a candidate. Just remember that. We'll come back to that. My next strategy that I use to secure these phone calls is emailing up. And emailing up is nothing revolutionary, but let me kind of tell you what it is. And basically, what I do is if I have a search, let's just say it's for a director of sales. It seems like a common search that we all might do. The level above might be a VP of sales and marketing type. I'm going to email the VP of sales and marketing and ask if he'd be willing to get on the phone with me to give me a referral. I'm just appealing to his goodness and his heart to help me out. Okay? But there's another thing I'm doing here. I'm living in my world of attraction. I've identified 1,000 people I'm attracted to. That's who I'm emailing up to. So if there's 1,000 people and 200 of them are VPs of sales and marketing, I'm sending that email to them, not just to anybody. And I'm trying to secure phone calls with them. So I'll throw a quick email up of what this might look like. Just something kind of catchy. You got to come across a little bit catchy, I think. Just, hey, how are you? And this is an email that I literally went and copied and pasted. I wanted to personally reach out to you. I like to throw that in there. You know, I'm personally reaching out for your help. We've got a director of sales opportunity. Many would describe as the white unicorn of the hotel business. It rarely appears, but when it does, it's a beautiful thing. I wanted to at least share the details in hopes that you can refer someone. I don't believe it's for you, but I'm certain you'd have a name or two for me relating to the referral. Would you be open to setting up a quick conversation with me? Not a cold call, setting up a quick conversation with me. So then, when I get on that phone call, going back to the reference check, this is my introduction. I'm not going to dive in for the kill. I'm going to try to set up another getting to know you call. So I get them a call, I tell them about the job, and by the way, about 15% of the people you email will get on the phone. I mean, they're not all going to get on the phone with you, but if I email 100 or 200, that's 15 or 30 people that I get into a conversation with. That's a pretty good day, that's a good 2 days, and for most recruiters, that's a good 3 days. I mean, I know some people in my office might talk to 4 people some days. So if I can get on the phone with 15 or 30, I have a chance to make some things happen. And then I close it the same way the reference check. Thank you for your time, not the purpose of the call today. Would you be willing to jump on another call with me sometime in the next 30 days? I just want 15 minutes of your next 4,400 minutes. And I'm living in my world of attraction, going after my 1,000 decision makers, and I'm taking another small step toward getting to know them. So let's kind of just look at the email up real quick and look at the value. First of all, I didn't talk about this, But when I ask for a referral via email and they agree to get on the phone with me, guess what? They have referrals. I get great referrals, and these guys, they've got a reputation. They don't just refer B players. They know who's good because they hire them, and they refer you to good people. I'll have VPs, some of them will shoot 6 names out at me. So I make placements by getting referrals. I'm setting up another getting to know you call with another decision maker, and I did it without the impromptu cold call. I mean, if I called this guy and he answered the phone, do you think he wants to talk to me? Probably not. He probably isn't like, oh, thank God. I've been waiting for a recruiter to catch me on the phone. Like, I wanted to pick up the phone only when a recruiter called me. I've set up a call. He's put it on his calendar. He now wants to talk to me. And instead of being John Doe, it's getting deleted before you get your last name out, you become known. And that's important. Remember that. And then the final thing, the decision maker is a potential candidate. Hang on to that thought for me. We're going to come back to it. So let's talk about my next strategy to get on the phone and get an introduction. It's salary surveys. There's really nothing revolutionary about this to me, but I'm living in my world of attraction. Again, I've got 1,000 decision makers that I've identified that I'm attracted to. Now I want to figure out how to get an introduction. This is another way. Take any sector of those decision makers in your space, email them and ask them if they'd like to participate in a salary survey. And there's a couple things that are going to happen here. First of all, you're going to get on the phone with the decision maker. There's another phenomenon. You're going to be giving versus taking. I don't know if you've noticed, but we kind of take like 100% of the time. I mean, we are like blood-sucking leeches sometimes, okay? Which is cool. We're taught to work the call. I do it too. But don't you think they've noticed that we take? I think they have. So in this scenario, I'm actually going to be giving them something of value. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to find out what everybody that does what they do makes as a salary, and I'm going to bring it back to them. Don't you think they'll find that valuable? I mean, if I told you that I was going to go out and find what every recruiter makes, and I was going to bring that information back to you, it would be valuable, right? I'd be giving you something of value instead of taking, and now I'm positioning myself as a consultant to you, okay? 20% of the people are going to participate. If you send this email out to 200, you'll probably get on the phone with about 40 people. But that's 40 more connects that I made without cold calling. And for me, I think I'm pretty good at leaving voicemails. I probably, on a marketing call today, I think I get a 10% callback ratio. I think it used to be 20%. I think today it's 10%. So if I want to talk to 40 people, that's like 400 cold calls. And do they really want to talk to me, or did they accidentally answer the phone? These people want to talk to me.
Is this a phone call? Is it a salary survey, or you did it online?
Salary surveys and email to set up a phone call. So I'm going to email the decision makers that I'm attracted to, and I'm going to ask them if they want to participate in a salary survey. And I want to talk to anybody in that 1,000. So anytime they respond, it's going to be done over the phone. Really all it is for me, it's a way to get on the phone with them. I mean, I've realized through experience, I mean, I'm not like a rocket scientist. I made this mistake, and then I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to leave voicemails all day and not get called back. I'm going to email these guys and set up this salary survey, get on the phone with 40 of them. Yeah, Brock.
Speaking of your desire to outsource, do you prefer to send these emails yourself to set up the call, or do you prefer to have someone in your office like an admin?
The reference, any reference check I set up is me, any email up is me, and the salary survey, if it's somebody that I want to talk to, the way we do the salary survey, I'm thinking about last year's, I actually had somebody send that email. But it said, would you be open to a call with our president to discuss a salary survey? So that one, because it is a known mass email, I mean, they know that we're going to email a ton of people. I make somebody else do that. The other ones are more personalized, so I send those personally.
Do you think it's more valuable to say, would you be interested in getting the results of our salary survey?
I do say that. And what we do, we put in our email, anybody that participates, we're going to bring the results back to you. If you don't participate, we don't bring the results back. So, and that also paves the way for me to maybe get another phone call with them too. But the way that I close this salary survey call is going to come as a shock to you guys. I'm original. I'm going to close it the same way. So I utilize this strategy to get an introduction. I'm going to use that introduction call to take another small step toward getting to know you. And I close the call asking for a 15-minute call at some point in the next 30 days. And again, about 85% of people that I ask this to will agree. So I'm going to set up another slew of calls to get to know them, to share with them who I am, and go from the dude leaving voicemails, which I am and have been that dude, to the dude that they know. So let's look at kind of what we're gaining from this salary survey. There's a couple things. I think maybe you guys have heard the term market mastery. I think maybe Jeff K coined that. You're developing market mastery. Don't you think when you do a salary survey on 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 people that you're learning about your space? You're finding out what their base salary is, their bonus, not just what their potential is, but how much they make. I do salary surveys, and some real high-level executive vice presidents, I had a guy go, hey, Joe, just to make your life a little easier, do you want me to tell you what all my regional vice presidents make? Yes. I'm developing market mastery to map out this organization and know what everybody makes. And I can use that on calls to demonstrate my expertise. Now when I'm talking to people, they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm establishing another getting to know you call, and that's huge. Recruiters, we often, when we get on these calls, we think it's our platform to just blast off about ourselves. No, I'm going to have an opportunity to get to know them. And then again, this person could be a potential candidate. We are going to come back to that. So let's pause here. I want to look at these 3 techniques I'm using before I go into the next 2 techniques. And I don't think there's anything revolutionary about this, but what I think is it's really simple, but I don't know that most people use this entire strategy to put it all together. So what did the reference check, the email up, the salary survey techniques do paired with the psychology of change? First of all, I'm taking all these big changes I'm going after, which in this particular case is, I want to make these people my clients. I want to make placements. You know, this isn't, no, I don't want to get to know a bunch of people for the sake of it. I want to get placements. But I'm taking what I'm going after, I'm breaking it into small steps. I'm living in my world of attraction, and that's important. You should know who you're attracted to. Go out and figure out who are your 1,000 decision makers. Put them in a list. And then start using these techniques to go after them, okay? I'm living in my world of attraction. I'm establishing the introduction, which is step 2, but I'm not jumping into the close yet. I'm using the introduction to set up the getting to know each other call. And that introduction call paves the way, okay? Now, it paves the way for getting to know you. And I do think this call, and sometimes for us, it's the first time we ever talk to anybody. But if you break it down like this, whenever you go into getting to know them, it's important to realize a few things here. And I'm going to show you what this getting to know you call looks like for me. First of all, I think we do feel that when we get on the phone with the decision maker, we're like, oh boy, I got to tell them how great I am. And I only feel that way because that's what I used to do. I'd be like, oh, I'm on the phone. Hey, so I've placed this, I've done this, I've done that, I do this, I'm right in this niche, I'm great, I'm the best. Do you want to work with me? No. Well, what the heck? I just told you I'm the best. You don't believe me? That doesn't work. Let me show you what I do to get to know you. And I'm going to put all these questions up here. This is really simple, basic stuff to me, but I know that a lot of people don't do it because I've heard it. I actually take the opportunity to get to know them, okay? And so my first 3 questions are just kind of rapport building. And I think an important question that if you were to just take one like really stupid thing home with you, it would be this. Question number 3. Are you from Houston or have you moved around a little bit? Believe it or not, this question gets them rolling. They'll go, oh no, I'm actually from Cleveland, I got hired by XYZ company. They relocated me down to Miami. I worked there for 7 years. They moved me out to Denver. I was the VP of this there, and then I moved over to here, and I'm like, I just got their entire career history, all kinds of nuggets about them, and they've kind of gone from maybe like this stationary position to knowing that I'm about to sell them to kind of like, I'm a little bit more limber and loose. Then I kind of start talking about their company. You know, how are things going at your company? You know, what's on the horizon? Is there any growth? What does your role encompass? Like, what are you responsible for at that? Kind of easing into what I really want to know here. What keeps you up at night as it relates to recruiting? I'm finding out, hey, who do they want to see? What candidates do they want to see from me? Instead of, like, if I just jumped on this call and told them how great I was, I didn't get any information. I'm learning what they want. What keeps you up at night? Because now, maybe I can help you sleep. I'm finding that out. And then I'm going into, do you work with search firms? How pleased are you? What does it look like? What does a good search firm look like to you? What is it you look for in a search firm? So this just sets the stage for me to now talk about myself a little bit. But I only talk about myself for about 5 minutes. I kind of script out that call. I mean, we are who we are. We should be able to put that down and say the same thing every time. And that's pretty much what I do. I'm not going to dive into that part today, but that's how I go into getting to know each other. And that call, as simple as that seems to me, I've seen it go wrong so many times, and especially with myself, to think that maybe other people make the same mistake. If you take the time to get to know them, first of all, you break the ice. It's going to position me as a consultant. I didn't go in there guns a-blazing selling myself. I'm a guy that's like taking a consultative approach to this. They're also going to remember me. Yeah, Robert.
Where do you capture that? The data that you just collected?
In my ATS.
So you take notes and then you
I have
free
send-outs.
form, or have you developed some sort of place where you keep it?
We have a place that I put it in send-outs. I just type the notes in while I talk. Yeah.
So it'll be there for the next
Yes.
person to come along and
Yes.
discuss that guy later on.
Exactly. Yeah. And I've trained the people that work with me to kind of ask these questions too, because what I would find is I would go in behind them and I would see notes and it was just talk to him, not interested. Well, the reason why I just said talk to him, not interested is because they just blasted off about how great they were and they didn't learn anything about them. So this is allowing us to get to know each other. You know, I'm developing a relationship with them and I'm still taking a small step toward the big change. I'm not diving ahead. It doesn't work. I mean, we don't do, if we do this, guys, on the first date, we go from the attraction to the introduction to, okay, I'm going to try to close, we can mess it up. You know, you got to break that down. Jeremy.
Hey, Joe, in our industry, we have, when we sell, like go right into selling, they tailor their answers to what we want to hear. And what I love about what you do, and we try to do as well, is that they're less, when they don't know what you're trying to sell them or talking to them about, they're going to give you real answers.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that our whole industry can be better at, because they give you the real answers. And then if your opportunity matches, you know, you don't have all these problems that close internally.
Yeah.
But they will, in our industry, they'll kind of, they'll tell you what they think you want to hear.
Exactly.
Sell first.
Exactly.
I think also, noticing what you were going through, I think it's great that you get to find out what are the things they're looking for. Because if you rattle up what you're good at, oh, we're very quick with resumes, and he's thinking, that's not important to me.
Yes. You're exactly right. It gets you to know what they're looking for. It also paves the way for what comes next. Because what we're going to do next is just 2 pillars of recruiting. I don't really think I have any secret sauce. I do the same thing you guys do. But we're going to go into making NPC calls and job board calls, and there's a trickle-down effect. So remember what I told you? Keep this in mind. That could be a potential candidate. Now, I started with a $7,500 average fee. And, you know, at that time, I was still registered in college. I didn't know anything, so I was cool with that. But as time went on, I'm like, this isn't easy. This is hard. I want it to go up a level. Well, watch what's happening. When you do these reference check calls, you do these email ups, you do these salary surveys, who are you talking to? The level above. You're talking to the level above, and people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. And the way that I've approached myself with these decision makers is, first of all, they're getting to know me. Maybe they're starting to like me, And if I'm demonstrating my expertise on that call, they're starting to trust me and they're becoming candidates. And now I can go up a level. I can increase my fees because I can start making MPC calls with the decision makers that were the references. And now maybe they're providing me with references and I'm calling up to their references. Do you see how this can pave the way for you to climb up a level? That's what it does. And that's how I've been able to increase my fee. My average fee is now somewhere in the $35,000, $30,000 range. And I still want to keep climbing. So with the MPC calls, I'm still living in my world of attraction. I'm still making MPC calls to the 1,000 decision makers I told you about. And here's another thing that happens. And this trickle-down effect is beautiful. Instead of being John Doe, hey, this is Joe Rice, I got this great candidate. They're like, Joe who, great candidate, I don't know who you are, delete. I had a conversation with them. I've gotten to know them. I've taken a consultative approach, and now I leave them a voicemail. And it doesn't have to be that salesy, because I know them. Hey, John, it's Joe Rice, how you doing? We talked the other day, 30 days ago, 45 days ago. I've got this candidate, and then I can send them an email, and guess what? They know who I am. They get back to me. And I make business because I took small steps toward the big change I wanted. The only other thing I'll say about NPCs, and this is somewhat of a generic comment, but bring value on the NPC call. Because I used to leave an NPC call, because I was taught this way, to say, this person's phenomenal at this, terrific at that, wonderful at this, and fantastic at that. They're kind of big words, but that's not going to induce a callback. These people, their earphones, and they literally have earphones when they listen to the voicemails, they hear two things. How can you make me money, and how can you save me money? So speak to specific things about that candidate, that they've made money, they exceeded their goal by 97 or by 150%. Their goal was 1 million, so they did 1.5 million. Give them descriptive things that they can kind of get a visual and go, huh, is that John Smith, that rock star over there at that one company, or is that so-and-so at this company? That sounds like someone that I might want to hire, and you can induce the callbacks. That's the last thing I'll say about NPCs. Going on to job board calls, there's another trickle-down effect, and it's the same. When I make a job board call, they know who I am. I'm not just some random guy calling, going, hey, decision maker amongst my 1,000 that I'm attracted to, I'm just leaving you a voicemail because I want to get to know you. No, I've already gotten to know you. I use my techniques to get to know you. We know each other. Now I'm leaving you a voicemail because I saw you had a job posted. I fill those all day long. Can I help you out with that? We talked 30 days ago. Remember that great conversation we had? Now it's time to do business. And guess what? I win more business because I know them and they know me because I took small steps. And I'm getting more callbacks. There's another phenomenon that happens here with the job board call is I used to kind of live on the job boards, and I remember my first couple years when I had those low average fees, I would call every job opening. Like, I didn't care what it was. Like, I recruit in the hotel industry. If it was a job that paid 50 grand or above, I was like, I want a job order. I'll fill anything. We're working in this business development silo with all these techniques. We're now tightening our niche. And now, when I make a job board call, I'm not calling every job board. I'm not going to take my shovel and just go dig a hole somewhere where I've never dug. That's what I used to do, but that's painful. Now, I'm living in a world of recyclability. I'm going to go out and leverage my past successes. If I just did a director of sales search in Houston, I just recruited 5 candidates, I placed one of them. Now, when I call one of those decision makers that knows me, I can say, hey, I just filled a job over here. I've got 4 candidates that didn't take the job. Are you interested in maybe having a conversation how I can bring these candidates to your company? I'm using recyclability. It makes it easier. So, real quick, before I go over to the candidate side, there's a couple things I want to talk about. Firstly, I think there is a propensity for recruiters, and I'm only saying this because I did it, to live in the job boards. And the problem is, you're not diversifying. You have to look at this as an investment strategy. And you have to diversify your portfolio. And for me, there's long-term investments and there's short-term investments. If I just make these job board calls, it's a hamster wheel. I'm going to run on my hamster wheel and get a job order, and then I'm going to run and I'm going to fill it, but then what? Oh, I I gotta run, get another job order, then I gotta run and I've gotta fill it. If you only do job board calls, it's the equivalent of investing all your money in a CD. It's safe, you're not gonna lose your money, but you're not gonna make a very big return on your investment. It's the reference check calls, the emailing up, and the salary surveys that get you on the phone with the decision makers that ultimately is gonna allow you to build the long-term investments. And those ones pay the greatest dividends. Those guys are vice presidents. They make decisions across an entire organization. They can say, Joe, I need somebody over here in Texas, I need somebody over here in California, and I need someone down here in Miami, and now I've developed a client that instead of giving me one placement, they're giving me 6 figures. I might be making 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 off that one client. You can't get that right here, so you have to diversify. And I'll give you a story that kind of ties all these strategies in that is a real life thing that happened on my desk. About 4 months ago, I recruited a candidate, and he really wasn't that great. But he sent me his references, because that's my process. I asked for his references, and one of the names that came up was one of the 1,000 that was on my list. So I'm gonna call and try to get an introduction. I did that, I ran my process, I got the reference check, I got my introduction, I closed just like I showed you, and I asked him for 15 minutes in the next 30 days, and like 85% of the people, he said yes. I went through that getting to know you call, I asked the questions I showed you, I took that consultative approach, we ended the call, good call, but nothing doing. We weren't doing any business, but he knew me, I think he liked me, and maybe he started to trust me. 45 days after that call, I noticed on their website a job board posting for a search that I fill all day, every day. So I reached out to him, I said, hey, I could fill that, we had that great call. I told you I do about 20 to 30 of those a year. I'm really good at this. Can we maybe work together? He goes, yeah, let's do it. So he gives me the search. As I'm doing that search, I'm the guy he's working with. Another search comes along and goes, hey, by the way, you want this search too? Sure. I ended up placing both searches. I billed 80 grand in the month of August as a result of it. And it was all by taking that big change I was going for and breaking it into the small steps. Do you see how they all played off each other? I knew I was attracted to him because he's working for a good company. And then I utilized my technique to get an introduction. Then I kept it slow, another small step, to get to know each other. I established the getting to know each other, and then 45 days later, when it came time for the close, I closed. It wasn't right away, but it happened, and I billed 80 grand in August as a result of it.
Is that contingent, Joe?
Yes. Most of what I do is contingent. I do some retain, which is kind of a shift for me. Having gotten started in 2006, I think I got started in that world. I never saw the retained world. I see it with guys like Jeremy's getting into retained, and I'm learning from those guys. I did one retained search this year. There was like a full-blown retained. It was like a $70,000 fee, and I'm trying to get more of that. But most of what I do is contingent. Yeah.
For your 1,000 contacts, do you do only direct decision makers, like if you're vertical sales, only heads of sales, or do you eventually, if you go through 1 through 8, you can't get in touch with any of those people, are 9 and 10 HR?
Yeah, HR's in there.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to get my touches with everybody. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the candidate side. I could probably talk all day about the candidate side. For today, I just want to kind of give you a snippet, but it's the exact same. The candidate side is the exact same as the client side. We're still taking the small steps towards a big change. Don't just go in for the kill with the candidates, okay? I've got my world of attraction, and this is easy. We're attracted to the candidates that match the profile, and I think we all know who those are. Introductions. A lot of us, I know I used to build my target list of candidates I was going after, or maybe I wouldn't even build a list, I would just start calling. That's not how I'm gonna go out and do it now. I'm gonna do a mass email first to try to get in touch with the candidates to set up a call before I go in and cold call them all. It's just easier. And probably 20% of the people we email will agree to set up a phone call. And I will tell you this, 53% of the jobs I filled last year came from a mass email. It initiated the introduction. Then, once I get the introduction, I get on the phone, I'm gonna get to know them. And that's gonna pave the way for the close. But it's the getting to know each other where, again, likes, I think this is where we dropped the ball.
Joe,
Yes,
in
Carol?
your mass email that you send to the candidates, what do you use as your hook? Just I want to get to know you because you're an A player, or do you go in with a job order? What do you use as your hook in the introduction?
Good question. I don't send the mass email personally. I'll have my researcher send it. And we sell the job, but we sell sizzle. And I used to send mass emails, like, let's just say it's a director of sales search. I'd say, we've got a director of sales search, and you're gonna supervise 5 people. You need to know marketing, you need to know SEO strategy, and you have to be a great leader. And we gave a job description. And I don't care whose job description I give you, it's boring. I can give you President Obama's job description, and you'd be like, oh, that sucks. It's boring. So I sizzle, and I think about what would I want, and I like to hear about big picture stuff. Don't you guys get excited about big picture? Like, I was like, this company's growing. They're adding 6 new units next year, and there's been 6 directors of sales that got promoted to vice president, and you could be next. And I sell all that sizzle.
What do you give them the client company name?
When I talk to them. Yeah, I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, I can't tell you until you send me a resume. When we have the conversation, because we're getting to know each other, I've established rapport. There's trust. There's trust, yeah. So I'll give them the information there, and if somebody will have this conversation with me, and I share with them at the end what the job is, and they go around me, I mean, they're a slime bag. Who does that? So this is my getting to know each other call. These are the questions I ask. I'm actually going to break this down into segments real quick. The first few questions, and it kind of goes back over to the other side, is rapport building. And I know for a fact, I skipped this, and it seems so, it's like stupid, it's like ABCs. But I know I still have recruiters in my office who skip this. We just lost out on a $40,000 placement, and we record our calls, I listen to it. He goes, hey, this is George at JDI, how's it going? Got some searches, got some stuff going on, got some ideas I want to shoot at you. You interested? Not really. Well, let me tell you what I got going on. We got this and we're doing this and we're doing that. He doesn't know. He didn't even say, how are you? He didn't even say anything. He just dove right into business. And I know that a lot of recruiters do that because I used to do it. And I was successful while doing that, but I wasn't as successful as I could have been. And so I start out with small talk. I'll talk for 5 minutes, small talk. And for me, I'm really not that social. I really am a guy that wants to close and close now, like more than most people I know. And I can be pretty blunt and direct, but I know what I want, and I've got to do what I got to do to get it. And so I'm going to have this small talk with them. And again, the question that gets them rolling. Hey, how's everything in Houston? Are you from there? Where are you from originally? They go from like this state of like, I know I'm about to get sold something, to, oh, he asked me where I'm from. Oh, I can talk about that. This develops inertia. This is Isaac Newton's law of motion or something. Inertia is basically, once something is moving, you can keep it moving. It's hard to get it going, but once you get it rolling, like a boulder going down a mountain, you can keep it rolling. And for me, this develops inertia. The rapport building does that. Asking where they're from opens Pandora's box. They'll go, oh, I'm from Cleveland, I got a job here, I did this, I did that. They're basically telling me if they're qualified for my job or not already. And then if we skip the rapport building, which is what George did on that call I told you about, we have zero inertia. And getting them to move can be very painful. The next thing I'm going to do is, we can probably pick a lot of different words for this, but I'm kind of probing here. I'm exploring, you know, if they're a fit for my job, if they're even going to make a move. Most of the people I recruit aren't looking for a job. So I got to figure out, like, this guy's on the phone with me, yes, but does he really want the job? Don't be so presumptuous to think that they want to change jobs. There's guys that shop for years before they actually make the change. I want to find out what they're all about. How long have you been with that company? And by this point, they're open to answering these questions. I got some inertia going. How do you like it? What does your career path look like? And I love to ask this. What do you see on the horizon for yourself? And they love to talk about it. Oh, I thought a recruiter would never ask me that question. And they'll tell you. Do you believe your current company can help you achieve that? Or do we maybe gotta look elsewhere? Now I'm kind of sizing them up. I'm pegging them into a hole here. We're finding out their motivation for change. We're finding out their pain. We're finding out their career goals, their interests, and maybe red flags of maybe I can't place this person. And then I'm gonna, okay, then I'm gonna go on to assessing and finding the deal breakers. You know, do you believe your current company can achieve the goals you have? Are you open to opportunities that can't? What does timing look like? What does a relocation look like? What's your salary? What's your bonus? I used to have a hard time getting that information out of people. I'd go, what's your salary? You know, I really don't feel comfortable talking about that. Really? They wouldn't give it to me. But now, they know me, they like me, they trust me. I never have a problem getting that information out of anybody because I take this approach. So, finally it comes time to present the job after I've spent 15 minutes talking to them. And I'm not going to talk to everybody. It's only the candidates that match the profile. I'm going to roll out the job, and now my tool belt is just loaded with ammunition. I know everything about this person, and when I present the job, I can appeal to that. I can sell them. And when they say no, because I know them, now I'm like an advisor. I can go, well, you know, you told me your goal was this. And in my experience, you're not going to get to it on the path you're on, but this could help you get to your goal. I now have this leverage to be able to sell them on my job. And then when I close the call, this is just something simple, but I don't say, so, are you interested in the job? I'm taking my baby steps. My question is, based on what I've presented you so far, do you think there's enough here to peel the onion back one more layer? I can't say that you should change jobs yet, but the question that we have right now is, should we peel the onion back one more layer? And so I keep going in my small steps. So guys, the big changes happen in small steps. Jeremy, did you say we have 5 minutes?
Around that.
Okay. So basically, I've given you some techniques here to kind of take those big changes we're after and break it into small steps. The silos of business development, you have to diversify and use them all. We've talked about the candidate side, getting to know each other. I want to give you a quick story. But remember, we got our 4 stages of candidate and client development. Remember that. I mean, it's not going to just happen. Change doesn't just happen. We don't just get married. So remember the 4 stages. There's the attraction. Find out who you're attracted to. Who are the decision makers in your space? Use those techniques to get the introductions. It's a lot less painful. You like talking on the phone with people. You love that part. You hate the part about leaving voicemails. So use the techniques to get on the phone. When you do, be a consultant, get to know them, ask those questions, learn about them. They're going to find that refreshing. And then it's going to make the close a lot more fluid. I want to talk about a story. I want to tell a story about Duke. This is Duke. Duke and I worked together in college. I worked this beach job. This is our apparel. That was my suit right there. And we were beach photographers. This was in Ocean City, Maryland. So for anybody who's from that region, if you're from DC, Maryland, Virginia, you know what that is. I was a scopes guy. We took pictures on the beach, and the object was, we were on commission only. We wanted to go out and get as many customers as possible. They would come back into our studio, and if they liked the pictures, they'd buy them. And if you look at his hand right here, those are what we put the pictures into. Those are samples. Those are telescopes. And you basically put them up to your eye, and you look inside, and there's a picture in them. Well, this guy right here was like my little brother. I loved him. He wasn't very good at this job. So one day, we're about to go out to the beach, and my boss, Brad, says, hey, I'm going to put Duke out on the same beach as you. I'm like, okay. Maybe he can learn something, Brad said. All right. So 8 a.m., we get out on the beach. We work 8 to 5. And, you know, we're amped up. You know, you got to get amped up. It was hard work. And we're like, let's do it. We're going to go out, and we're going to get customers, and we're going to work hard. And we gave our high fives, and Duke went that way, and I went this way. And we went off and started working. And we did this like 6 days a week. And I passed Duke like 4 or 5 times throughout the day, and I saw him. He was running down by the shoreline. The sand is like nice and hard down there. It was all thick and dense and hard to run up at the top, so you could really get moving down there. He had his scopes in his hand, all right? And he's rattling them. And he's sprinting. I mean, he's working like 10 times harder than me. And he's just rattling those scopes, and he's going, hey, you guys want pictures? 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 And he thought maybe by standing down at the shoreline, he could scream at everybody at the same time. Imagine you're on the beach, and I'm down by the shoreline. Hey, do you guys want pictures? Pictures? Like, he was rattling those things, he was shouting, he was making all kinds of noise. But he wasn't getting customers. I saw a lady go, yeah, I want pictures. He sprinted right past. He didn't even see her. I'm like, and then there was me. I was running up to every single person. Hey, do you want to get pictures today? No? Hey, it's a great day. Let's get some pictures. No? Well, my name's Joe. I'm out here all day. If you change your mind, are you ready for pictures? Are you ready? 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 I went and asked every single person. I ran up to him. I connected. Dude was just sprinting, shaking, rattling, pointing. So we're walking off the beach. I put my arm around my little brother, Duke. I'm like, how'd you do, little brother? He's like, I got 12 customers today. How about you? I'm like, I got 65. How did you go out on this same strip of God's good earth with the same people out there, and you got 12 and I got 65? And I kid you not, he was befuddled. He's like, this makes no sense. I worked harder than I've ever worked. Like, I was sprinting up and down the beach. It's true. He outworked me. But he didn't connect. So I think a lot of times as recruiters, and this applies to me, I'm speaking from experience, I think we kind of do like Duke. We run really hard. We shake, we rattle, we sprint, we point, we yell, we make a lot of noise, but we're not connecting. So take this opportunity to break the big change into small steps, utilize the techniques to be able to connect with people, and I think it's going to make your life a lot easier. Now, if anybody's able to go off and utilize any of these techniques, and maybe it was helpful, maybe it wasn't, there's my contact information. I'd love to hear any success stories like, Joe, I went out and did this and it actually worked. Feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear about it. If you have any questions, shoot them at me.